Hello. It looks like I just started that off with a laugh. Welcome, everybody. You're watching the Shit Talking Podcast. I'm Christina.
And I'm Robyn.
Welcome. We were having a little technical difficulty, so hopefully this episode goes without a hitch.
Yeah, it was a comedy of errors of sorts. I think everything that went wrong on both of our ends went wrong. Everything that could have went wrong. But here we are. We're here.
Hey, you just roll with it. Actually, Mercury is in retrograde until November 3rd. So these types of things happen and you just have to roll with it.
Yes. I think that that's just part of life. You roll with the punches, and it's very funny because when I was going through my own issues and trying to figure out how am I going to get onto this podcast, because I know that there are millions of people waiting to hear from us. I said, you got to improvise, chick. Do what you got to do.
Yes, millions.
So, millions of people listening. So here we are talking about age.
Yeah, and today's topic is about aging, men versus women. But before we even get to that, I must alert everyone to the fact that Robyn's birthday is tomorrow.
It is.
Happy birthday. I would sing to you, but nobody wants to hear that.
I do.
So happy birthday. And I wanted everybody else to know that it is Robyn's birthday tomorrow, and it's a special one. It's got a
super
0
special.
Yeah.
Super special. I think that's why this aging episode is especially appropriate, because I am right now with you all living the last few hours of my 30s. After this, we're done. We're done.
I feel special. Do you know what time you were born?
I believe it was 3:51 a.m.
Oh, okay.
Like that. Yeah, something like that.
How many hours of labor?
I don't know. What I do know is that my mom said that she was watching the World Series. I believe she was eating fried chicken. Because I'm the second child, and she realized after the first child that you really don't want to sit around eating Jell-O and crap, because once you go into labor, they're not going to let you eat anything. So she had her big plate of food, went into labor. They were much more lackadaisical about it than with my sister. I think they made a couple stops, like dropped my sister off at, not a daycare, but like somebody to watch her overnight. May have picked up some things on the way because I kind of knew this wasn't going to be a short process. And then there I was, 3-something in the morning.
Well, we're so grateful to have you in the world.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Tell your parents I said thank you.
I will.
For, whatever it is they did, when and where to get you.
I almost spit out my tea.
But sorry. Probably TMI. You don't want to think about that.
Well, I mean, such is life, right? So I think this is a really good time to talk about aging because, of course, I'm sitting around thinking about aging. Like, I'm about to be 40. I'm super excited about it, to be honest with you.
Good, you should be.
I know that some people dread it, like they dread getting older. I don't dread it. I'm excited. I'm excited about what my 40s are going to bring. But I think when we think about aging, I don't know. What do you think about? Like, do you think about like the good things like wisdom and knowledge and experience, or do you think about like how much am I going to spend in Botox?
Well, I will say that 40 for me was hard. I'm 45, so I've sort of recovered until 50 comes along, and then I'll just be depressed about 50. Mm-hmm. But I was not happy about 40. And the reason I think is because I just felt like there comes a time in your life, I think, when you're not considered young anymore. Mm-hmm. And I kind of feel like 40 is it. Sorry.
No, you're right.
My opinion anyway. And I don't know why that matters. It probably leads us to the next question, which is, why does that even matter? Why do you have to be young? Who cares? But I guess something I've mentioned to you before is there's this saying, like, you're old enough to know better, right? Like, I feel like when you're in your 20s, you kind of get a pass on doing some stupid shit, making mistakes. Maybe even in your 30s too. Mm-hmm. And I think when you get into your 40s, though, no one's really going to say that about you. No one's going to say, well, she was young and she just didn't know any better. You know better. I don't care what it is. You know better by 40. You don't get a pass.
Yeah. But one of the things that my mom actually said to me last night was maybe you do know better, but I think the older you get, you stop giving a shit. Like
Yeah,
maybe you
that's
do know
true.
better, but you just don't care as much anymore because you care less about perception. You care less about what people are saying about you. You care less about whether this person's going to say that if you do something wrong or if you make a mistake or if you fall on your face. You just don't, maybe you don't embarrass as easy. So you may be willing to take some risks that you did not take in your 20s or your 30s because you're kind of like, who cares? What's the worst that can
Yeah.
happen? The worst that can happen is that I fail. Okay, well,
Yeah.
fine.
Well, I think also one of the more obvious things too about getting older is aging from a physical standpoint. And we were going to talk about men versus women. And I was just
Yeah.
talking about this with some ladies this weekend. And there is an absolute double standard when it comes to aging with men and women. George
100%.
like George Clooney's distinguished, right? He's still attractive. He can have wrinkles and gray hair, but he's still attractive. I mean, Paul Newman truly was gorgeous until he was 80.
Yeah.
And people just don't say that about women. Right?
I mean, I don't think there could be like a female Hugh Hefner going around sleeping with a bunch of bunnies. Like, I don't know that. What is a male bunny? I guess it's still a bunny. I don't know. But I don't know that that would happen. I think that men do have that advantage that you can be like 80 years old. And if you have enough money, you can have a 20-year-old or you can
Yeah,
have a 21-year-old.
Have Viagra, will travel. But what's the woman going to do?
Yeah, I don't think that we have that same option. Like I don't I mean, I don't know, maybe we're now in the time period of like cougars. I feel like when I was growing up there wasn't a cougar thing and now like guys are a little more into the whole older woman, a little more mature. You could still kind of be a hot older woman thing. I think that we have that now.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
don't know. Am I to cougar age yet? What time? When
No,
do
I
you get
don't
to be a
think so.
cougar? Do you have to be in your 50s, I
I
think? I don't
don't
know.
know.
Somebody let us know. One of our listeners, if you could put into the chat what is
Yeah.
the appropriate age of a cougar, I would really like to know that because I would like to be a cougar. I'm fine wearing some leopard print. I will go out and start, doing cougar things like wearing inappropriately short mini skirts when I go. I'm fine with that.
Yeah,
I'm
but the
okay.
only reason it's considered inappropriate is because you're too old.
I know. You're
Right? That's what
right.
I
You're
can't
right.
stand. What do you think, Courtney? Courtney, who's watching right now, what do you think? What age do you have to be to constitute a cougar?
Yeah, I'd like to
Maybe
know.
you're a puma.
A puma.
It's like the younger version of a cougar. You're not quite a cougar
Yeah.
yet.
I'd be okay with that. I'd be okay with that. But like I do think that there is definitely a lot more pressure. I actually looked up this statistic of plastic
Of course.
surgery and it says 92% of all plastic surgery or cosmetic surgery procedures are for women. 8% are
That's not
men.
surprising.
It's not
Courtney.
surprising.
Courtney said 40.
Damn it, Courtney. That
Damn
was
you,
not
Courtney.
Damn it. That's not what I needed to hear. I wanted to hear like you have to be exactly 52
You
to
must
be
be
a
45. Well, not me, because I don't want to be a cougar. Yeah, like 48. What else? Something
48.
older than us.
Correct. Courtney, research that. Come back correct.
Yes.
Something over 45.
Courtney,
But,
is that your final answer?
yeah, I mean, I don't think that we have the ability to age as gracefully because we're told like you got to get rid of the wrinkles or you got to do this or you got to, lift up the girls or do whatever you need to do. And men don't do that. Like they don't have anything to lift up.
Well, they
I mean, they
kind of
probably
do have
do.
stuff they should lift because their stuff droops too.
But they
But
don't feel
again,
compelled to lift them. Is anybody out there saying to guys like,
actually,
"Oh, you have man boobs. Get rid of your man boobs." Like
you
how
can
many
get rid of
man
man
boobs?
boobs. See,
Of
that's
course
the
you can.
thing, though, is they're
Of course you
allowed to
can.
do that. It's okay. They can have droopy, drawers, even when they're not wearing drawers. Their ass is sagging. They
Yeah.
can have all that. It's not talked about. But don't you dare have a droopy ass.
I
Don't
mean, I
you
do
dare
too.
have droopy boobs.
All of these things are accurate. Like I feel like I'm feeling a little attacked right now, Christina, because you're describing me. It's so funny. I was actually talking again to my mom last night because birthday's coming. We were talking, and I said we were talking about cosmetic procedures, and I said I would absolutely have work done. Like I absolutely have work done. So we started talking about what respectively we would get done, which is so funny because at first she was kind of like, oh, really? What would you have done? Why would you have anything done? And then I said, well, I might do this. I might get rid of the bags. I might like lift the girls up. Like I'd be okay with that. And then she's like, yeah, now that I'm thinking about it, maybe I could get rid of these lines. Like once you start talking about it, you're kind of
Yeah.
like, I mean, there's a couple tweaks I wouldn't mind so much
You
doing.
can get sort of obsessed with it.
Well, I know what I said is that if I ever got anything done, I know that you were talking about a plastic surgeon. I don't know. Is his name Dr. Asadi? Is that his name?
Dr. Asadi, yes.
Yes. So I remember you telling me that his philosophy on life was that like if people can tell you've had work done, that he kind of like did it wrong, right? And I
Yeah.
said, that's what I want. Like I don't want anybody to know, but if I could get rid of the bags, I'd get rid of the bags. And I know that people say, well, why don't you just sleep more? And I go, well, why can't you give me a realistic option? Like sleeping more is not realistic.
Well, why can't you
Plastic,
just get the bags done?
that's my point. That's
You know
exactly my
what?
point.
Well, I did a whole blog article on this. Like, why are we so uptight about plastic surgery? I mean, it's just modern technology. Why can't we use it?
I think it goes back to the same aging pressure is that women are supposed to be perfect and beautiful and gorgeous with perky boobs and no bags under their eyes and no lines, but it's all supposed to be natural. Like people get very upset when you do things that are not natural. Like, well, I want you to have super long hair, but it needs to be natural. Well, you know what? Newsflash, this ain't all mine. I mean, I'm just going to throw it out there. But, if I want to have long hair, maybe I do something to accentuate having long hair, but people like frown upon it. Like, well, don't do it if it's not natural, but you still need to be perfect.
But do you think those people are just jealous? I do think it depends what circles you travel in. Because do you think that Kim Kardashian's friends are, ashamed that although they don't really talk about it, they don't talk about all their plastic surgery.
No. And I think that that's part of the problem is that it's not normalized. Like maybe if we could normalize plastic surgery, because I do think that especially many men are holding women to that Kim Kardashian standard. And you're kind of saying, bro, she's not natural. Like if I had the money to pay to look like her, I could look like her. Maybe not, but close. You know what I mean? Like I could
Yeah.
do that. I could have a butt that big. I could have a tiny waist. I could have boobs that don't sag. I could have, all of my hair removed by way of laser surgery and vampire facials. Like I could do all of those things too if I was willing to pay for it. But you're holding me to a standard that's not natural, but want me to attain it naturally. And that's not
Yeah.
fair.
Well, is that true though? I mean, we're saying this. Is it true, or it's our perception that this is what's happening, right? Because women, I don't think a lot of women, especially on the East Coast, talk so openly about the procedures that they're having.
No, it's very hush hush.
It is, right?
Yeah.
So I'll just be very honest. I think I said this on another podcast. I had my eyelids done.
Mm-hmm.
I've had my lips done. I'm feeling like a little anxiety talking about this right now.
But you know what? This is your moment of freedom, Christina. Let it all out.
But
It should
I
be
have
normal.
talked about it. And I've had lipo.
I'm jealous. I'd like lipo. It's very funny. I remember a client telling me about his wife having her boobs done. And he was like so upset about it because for some reason it was a post-divorce issue. And he's like, she wasn't sick. She was out having her boobs done. And I said to him, I'm like, if I could go get my boobs done, I get my boobs done too. Why are we hating on her going to have her boobs done? Like, why is that such a thing? Like, why is it so taboo? I would do it.
Lana has a good point. She says the silence is what makes dumbass men think it's natural and try to hold other women to those standards.
Right.
That's an interesting
But I think that
thought.
that's the problem is that there is a silence and we don't talk about it and we don't
Oh,
say like, hey, I had lipo or, no,
hey, I
my
had lipo.
hey, I had some lipo. I had a little lipo. Like
Why don't we talk about it though? It's really mind-boggling to me. And then when I say to women like, in their 30s, early 40s, oh, get some Botox. No, I don't know. I don't know if that's for me. But then they'll complain about the wrinkles. Well, why? Just what's the big deal? I don't really understand.
I mean, I definitely do know that there are women who simply embrace those wrinkles and they're fine with it. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Like, if you're good with your wrinkles and you're kind of like, I don't want to get Botox, I'm fine with my wrinkles. I earned these wrinkles. Then that's great. I think it's different if you're complaining about it, though. If you're not happy, why not just change it? If the technology's there.
Yeah, I'm not okay with it. So I actually have an appointment with Dr. Asadi tomorrow because if you look closely, my forehead is moving and there are wrinkles, which you can't see if you're listening to our podcast. But if you go to the live stream, look, you can see.
So
wrinkles.
When we talk about about men versus women, though, I don't hear a lot of men complaining about wrinkles. And why is
Yes. Well, again, because George Clooney can still be hot, and a woman who's what is he now? He might be 60 now.
I wonder, though, has he had work done? Like, maybe he has had work done.
But I still think even if he has, he can still look older, and we're forgiving as a society. And I was actually commenting on this earlier to someone else. How many of us say, and I know I've said it, how many of us say, oh, she looks really good for her age? Why do we have to add that part for her age? What does that even mean?
Right. Like, why can't it just be she looks really good? Like,
what you're really saying is, oh God, you should really look terrible, but you don't. Good for you.
Kudos to you. You don't look like it. You don't look like an old bag of rocks. Good for you.
Yeah.
I mean, I say it. Like, I look at people like I feel like my go-to is Angela Bassett. I look at Angela Bassett and I go like, just hot damn. Like, she looks good.
She looks so attractive.
I mean, like everything. And I don't know, like I said, maybe she's had work done, maybe she hasn't. I don't care. But the point is, she looks amazing. Like, skin is amazing, body's amazing, hair is amazing. Like, and she's always glowing and looks happy and looks like, but I look at her and I go, look, Angela Bassett, for whatever age she is, I want to say she might be 60. I don't know.
She might be.
But I say, like, even with Angela Bassett at 60 or whatever age she is, she could take my man today. Like, I think if she walked into my house today and said, hey, you want to stay with her or you want to come with me? He'd like, bye, Robyn.
Sorry, babes.
Sorry, babes. It's been real. Yeah, exactly. Enjoy your 40th. It's been real. I'm out with Angela Bassett. Like, she looks amazing. So,
well, do you guys have a cheat list? Because I have a cheat list. It's like people you would get a pass if they came around, and you could go off with them. I mean, of course, this has never been tested, but
I want to know the cheat list. I feel like this doesn't have to do with aging, but like we need to know.
No,
so what is it?
I used to have it in my phone. I remember Mark Sanchez was on it at some point in time, but he's sort of old hat now, isn't he?
Well, I don't know. I don't know that he's old hat, but I do think, we've never really discussed it, but I do definitely feel like there are certain people that if I were to say, like, look, so I was at work and Morris Chestnut walked in and he said, let's get down on your desk right now. I feel like my boyfriend would understand. Like, I think he'd go like, all right. I mean, I get it.
Maybe we should do another episode on, different kinds of relationships, like open relationships. That would be interesting.
I would consider that open.
Doing it.
Well, I don't know that I consider that open. I consider it like a hall pass.
Yeah, kind of. If anybody on here does that or knows somebody, send them our way because we'd like to talk to them. But anyway, we're getting off topic. So
Shocking.
yes, I know. So, I think the aging thing, I do think that we're more accepting. We've gotten better. I think
Mhm.
when I was a kid, 40 for a woman was like old. It
It
was
was over the
old.
hill. Yeah,
Like,
like
and
you're
women didn't look as good. I just feel like they really didn't look as good. My vision of an older woman was always that they reached a certain age, they just let everything go. They got fat, they wore mom jeans, just unflattering jeans pulled up too high, chopped off their hair, and just like it was over. I think it was Karl Lagerfeld who said that if you're wearing sweats, you gave up. And that's what it is. Like they gave up. They were just like, "What? We're not supposed to be hot." So, you know.
I feel like that's slightly hypocritical, Carl, because I was wearing a Karl Lagerfeld sweatshirt over the weekend. So if you're making sweats, sir,
That is
then
fun.
you should allow us to wear them. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I think he's dead now. So,
So he's not making anything. Speaking of
yeah,
aging,
maybe
he's yeah.
the new guard made them. But I don't know. I'm mindful of getting older. I do see changes in my face as I've gotten older. They're very subtle. They happen slowly over time. And sometimes it does bother me.
I agree with you. Like there are definitely times I look in the mirror and I'm kind of like, wow, like you look old as crap. Like you look at the lines, you look at the wrinkles, you're kind of like, I didn't have all that before. I didn't have the crow's feet when I smile. Or, worst yet, now that we have the beauty of Facebook history where they say, like, oh, here's what you were doing 8 years ago today. And you're like, damn, that's what I look like 8 years ago. And you kind of actually get to perceive the
Yes,
difference because you see
it's
it. It's like, you're like, shit, I looked young, like you don't
yes.
realize it until it's like right in front of your face. So,
Well, haven't you ever run into someone that you haven't seen in 5 years and you can't believe how much they aged?
yes, but then I don't believe that I've aged. It's like, I feel like it's just them.
Yes.
I'm kind
You're
of
like,
like,
they look terrible, but I don't. I look the same as
I
five
know.
years.
Wow, you look a lot older. I don't look that old. I mean, I definitely see people that are my age and I feel like they look older than I do. But I'm sure that there are people that look at me and they realize I'm their age and they're kind of like, wow, she looks a lot older than I do. Like it's just everyone ages differently and I think we have to embrace that a little bit. But
Yes.
or do we have to? I don't know. Maybe I don't want to embrace it. Maybe I'm
I
just
don't care about everybody else. I'm not inspecting everybody else. I think especially women, if we're looking at other women, I think we're almost just comparing ourselves in some way. Like, oh,
Hmm.
well, what is she doing? She looks good. I wonder what she's doing.
But it could just be for us though. Like it's not necessarily a judgment, but if you
Oh
said to
yeah.
like if I said like, "Hey, Christina, your skin looks great." And you said, "Hey, I went to this place and got a facial." I'm like, "Great. Like I want to go and get a facial because your skin looks great."
Yeah.
So, if you go up to another woman and you go like, "Wow, like you look like you haven't aged a day. What are you doing?" And the woman says, "I am doing a lot of plastic surgery." I'm kind of like, "Okay, check. Good to know." Like
Well, or you get the Christy Brinkleys of the world who are just like, I just drink a lot of water. You're like, stop it. Just
I'm
stop
buying it,
it,
Christy.
Christy. Come on now.
I don't
Water.
buy it. I don't
Okay, I
buy
just want to remind people who are just tuning in that tomorrow is Robyn's 40th birthday. So let's all wish her a happy birthday.
Thank you again. I I need everyone to know that I am not one of those people that get tired of being wished a happy birthday. Like you can put the sign up literally every 10 minutes if you'd like to and say, by the way, Robyn's birthday, here we are. I'd be fine with it. Um yeah, but it's a big one. It's a milestone. It's 40. Like I am officially old. Like I
Oh,
am.
stop it. Stop it. No,
I
you're
am.
not. Now, you touched on something earlier, and I just
Okay.
have to tell you that I don't know if you saw it, but for my other podcast, I interviewed a doctor, a urogynecologist, who talked about anti-aging for your vagina. Yes, it's a thing. And so apparently it's not just about our faces anymore. And by the way, if you happen to have a penis, you can there's anti-aging things you can do for that too. And they're
What do
lasers.
you do? Like, what are you lasering though?
It's basically to tighten skin. I mean, how we're always talking about how we lose collagen in our skin, and that's why our faces sag, and you want to replace that collagen because it kind of lifts things up and makes it a little tighter. That's what you want. But everywhere loses collagen. It's not just your face, it's your skin. You have skin down there. All of us do, right? So you're losing collagen there too.
So what I'm hearing is that if there were not enough in this world to worry about the crow's feet, the bags under the eyes, the marionette lines around the mouth, I now also need to worry that I have a saggy cooch. That's what I'm hearing.
Yes.
Okay. Good.
You do.
Good.
And the good news is that Dr. Betsy Greenleaf, she said that the side effects of menopause, I know we're not there yet, but they can all be reversed with hormonal therapies. Thank God. So Botox and hormones, that's what we all need now.
What kind of side effects is she talking about? Like, what do we have to look forward to in menopause? And you know what? I want to talk about menopause too, because I think that has a lot to do with it. Like, men don't go through menopause. Like, there's not some big change that they have when they get older. And I think that may be why it's easier for them to kind of wrap their mind around aging. I think a lot of women feel like they're losing their womanhood when they go through menopause, whereas men don't have like that mark where it's like, boom, I'm not a man anymore.
Heather brings up a good point that birthing kids wrecks the vagina. She's right. Definitely affects your vagina. So
good thing I haven't birthed any.
You know what? Maybe we could have Dr. Greenleaf come on sometime and talk more about this, but men don't go through menopause, but their hormones change too. I mean, a lot of
what happens?
Testosterone.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, I guess it's just not something that you can mark the same way as you can with menopause, where it's like, okay, I'm no longer getting a period. And now, like, the thing that made me a woman, which is my ability to bear children. And a lot of women feel that way, that's what womanizes you, is your ability to bear children. I can't do that anymore. Whereas men may not even know they're losing testosterone. Like, maybe they're kind of like, oh, I'm not as strong as I used to be. Maybe I don't feel as sexual as I used to feel, but like, whatever, it's just because I'm married to this old hag who won't get Botox. Maybe that's what they're thinking. I don't know.
I mean, they can have significant side effects. I'm not a doctor, so the ones that I know of is decreased sex drive, difficulty maintaining erections. I think a lack of sleep. I think it affects their sleep.
I only care about the first two. Like, I don't care about the sleep. Let's go.
I mean, let's probably care about the first two.
I mean, let's talk about what's important here is the lack of the sex drive and the maintaining an erection. Like, I could see how for a man, that would be really difficult. Like, I think that may be an apt comparison. If it's like, well, I used to be able to do certain things when I was young that I can't do now. That could really be a blow. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No pun intended.
No, or perhaps pun intended. I don't know. Yes,
maybe it was on purpose. And then women have side effects too from their hormones changing. Like maybe TMI, but vaginal dryness.
Yeah.
Which can lead to painful intercourse. And some women lose their hair, or their hair is thinning.
That's true.
Hot flashes, brain fog. So
I feel like you're describing me now, like hot flashes. I I swear for the last 2 days, maybe it was because like mentally I knew I was turning 40. The last 2 days, like I was so hot. Like I'm in my office opening windows. I'm like pulling my hair up. I'm like, guys, it is so freaking hot in here. And everyone's looking at me like I'm insane. So first I thought that I had corona. So I took my temperature. I was like, maybe I have a fever. I messed up my hair. Um, maybe I have a fever, but like I'm having, and I always have brain fog. Like I go through life with brain fog. I can't remember what I did from one minute to the next. Like I don't know if that's age or if that's just, maybe doing too many things at a time. I don't know.
Maybe it's just
I
too
don't know.
much carbs. So,
Carbs.
so the other thing too I wanted to remind you all about is you remember that episode of Sex in the City when Samantha was gonna bang the old guy and she saw him
Yeah.
naked walking down the hallway and saw his ass and was like, "Oh my God, I can't." And she ran out of
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
So see, men get droopy too.
They do, but I also think that Samantha, or the character of Samantha, may have been a little bit of a special animal. I feel like women are a little bit more forgiving. So, like, if the guy has a little bit of a droopy ass, or maybe, he doesn't have the perfect body, or maybe he doesn't have, maybe he has the man boobs, or maybe, he's not maintaining the erection like he used to. We're a little bit more of the ego strokers of like, it's okay, sweetie. Like, that's fine. Like, I don't know that women are as critical, at least not audibly.
Yeah. Well, Heather says it's not the same stigma, and I think that's true. But I think the reason for that may be because women are more forgiving. I mean, who's
Yes.
creating the stigma?
Right. That's
I
what
don't know. Should we
that's
be
kind of
blaming
what I
men for
think.
that?
Well, I don't know that we can completely blame men for that. I think that, if we wanted them to be held to the same standards, then the onus is somewhat on us as women to hold them to that standard, to say, you know what, sweetie, your ass is looking a little droopy. What's your plan? You know what I mean? Like, but we don't do that.
Do some
Um,
squats, honey.
might do some squats, but we don't do that. I think media doesn't do that. You still have men that can be portrayed as, sex figures, or, sex symbols even when they're older, whereas I don't think women get that same treatment within the media. So we're kind of being told that a man can be older and still be very attractive, whereas a woman is kind of like, oh,
Well, I remember a while back, Renee Russo, the actress, I
mhm.
wish I could remember the name of the movie she was in, but she played a sex symbol in this movie. And it was like a Bond movie. It wasn't a Bond movie, but it was something similar. I'll have to find out the name of it. And the big thing in the news was how Renee Russo, who was 40, played a sex bomb, and it was like 40, like, oh my God, and she looks amazing. And it was like, really? She's
No, it's
40,
news.
and this is a big deal that she looks sexy and attractive at 40? I mean, really?
Yeah.
But this was a while ago.
But I still think that would happen now. I still think that somebody at 40 would be like, oh my God, I can't believe that she is such a sex symbol. Whereas I don't know that men would get that same treatment. I mean, I
Well,
don't
maybe
know. Like,
50. Maybe 50 now. I think what I hear is like, oh, wow, look at who just turned 50 and she still looks amazing. Like Jennifer Lopez and Sandra
she
Bullock.
she does look amazing.
She
Right.
does.
I mean, they do look amazing.
Yeah,
so
but
so
you know what?
yeah.
I saw a picture of J-Lo that wasn't filtered,
Yeah.
and you could see her age more. I mean, all the pictures
Yeah.
we see, they're all filtered and photoshopped. So
Well,
you're not actually seeing these people the way that they really look.
but where do you think that comes from? Like, I wonder sometimes, and maybe like my conspiracy theories, if the plastic surgery industry is almost driving half of these media campaigns of like, no, we need people to look perfect, because if you look perfect, in magazines or on TV or wherever you are, then people will come to us and spend money to look like you. Like, if you just look like you're aging and you have wrinkles and that's all normal, who's going to spend their money to get rid of those wrinkles to look like you?
I don't think that anybody is wants to, look old. I think the plastic surgery industry is responding to a demand.
But it's responding to a female demand, because female, like, women are the ones that are going out to get these procedures, whereas men, for some reason, when they're only 8% of the cosmetic procedures, clearly don't give a shit. And I want to know, men, why don't you give a shit? Like, give me some of that so that I can not give a shit too.
Actually, Dr. Asadi would say that he gets a fair number of men that come in and they get Botox and they get little treatments here and there. So they're, I think they're coming around too. They're trying to stay younger looking. And so I think sometimes, at least for me too, it's not necessarily about looking young. I'm not trying to look 25. I just want to age well. I want to look good as I get older. I would want someone to look at me and say, well, there's someone who takes care of herself. She hasn't graduated to sweatpants. She didn't let herself go.
She didn't completely give up. I mean, but
She
I think
hasn't
that's
given
all
up
of
yet.
us. That's anything. I mean, not even just plastic surgery. It's then, why do we wear makeup, and why do we wear
Yeah.
Spanx, and why do we, care what outfit we have on? Because, in general, if you care about your appearance, you're going to do things so that you look good and therefore feel good. But I
Yeah,
just think that there's a lot more pressure on us as women.
definitely. Lauren raises a good point, though, that she says too many women complain about men's height and hair loss. I mean, so I think men
Mm.
do have a standard of beauty. They do. It's different. But yes, a lot of men lose their hair when they get older, and it's the butt of a lot of jokes, right?
Yeah.
And it's just what's the why? I guess because it doesn't look good. I don't know. It's
Well,
a
you know
sign of
what?
aging.
It's very funny because the my hairdresser works with a lot of people who have hair loss, men and women. So she'll do like I don't know if they even call them hair plugs anymore, but like she'll do like the replacement kind of thing, like for men, or kind of get like the pieces or fitting toupees or doing whatever for them. And she says that a lot of times the men don't want to do it. They don't necessarily care as much as their wives that want them to do it. That kind of like don't want them to be balding or want them to do something about the hair loss. So maybe there is some areas where women are putting a little pressure. Like, I hadn't thought about that, Lauren. That's a very good point, that I think maybe women do put a little bit more pressure in the hair loss area of like, oh, you're getting a little thin up top there, sweetie. Like, I think,
Yes. Well,
you know
I
what I
don't
mean?
know. I mean, Russ has a full head of hair, so it hasn't been something I've had to really think about. I think
Well,
that
how do you
when
think
a
he'd
guy,
react?
what's that?
How do you think he would react if he
If
started
he was
losing
losing
his
his
hair?
hair, I don't think he
Yeah, would it
would
bother him?
like it. I don't know.
Hmm.
I mean, I kind of think he probably wouldn't like it, but I don't know. A lot of men that I know who are losing their hair, they are sensitive about it. I mean, most of them, they're not going to go around and talk about it, but some people that I've, had the opportunity to talk about it with them, they are very mindful of it and sensitive about it. And they'll do things to try to fix it, like buy shampoos or take pills or look into hair plugs or whatever they call them now. And, you know,
Yeah.
they're mindful of it. I think Derek said this, just shave your head. That's the best thing you could do, right? Just shave your
Okay,
head.
I agree with you, but not every man can pull off a bald head.
Well, they don't know
So,
until they shave it, right?
right, but I do think, that, and I was actually speaking with my law partner about this, about bald heads, and she was saying that she thinks, here are inappropriate work conversations. She thinks that black men can pull off bald heads better, because she goes, like, if I see a black dude with a bald head, I don't really think about it. It's kind of like he has a bald head. It is what it is. I do think that white men may have to worry about the skinhead connotation if they shave their head.
Oh,
Like,
I never thought about that.
it may be a concern that, like, if you're a white guy and you just shave your head completely bald, especially if you're like kind of scary looking and maybe have like a goatee or something, like you could look a little skinheadish, which
Yeah,
black guys don't have to worry about.
yeah, I think it
But
depends how you dress, if you're wearing,
right,
a cable
like
knit
combat
sweater, you're
boots.
probably not going to be accused of being a skinhead.
Probably not. Like, hey, like you got dressed at J. Crew and here you are a skinhead. Probably not. Um, but I do think that I agree with Derek that there definitely comes times where you just need to let it go. Lori's kind of like if you're struggling to hold on to that hair,
Yeah.
guys, I am giving you the permission. This comes from Robyn and Christina. I feel like she'll co-sign. Let it go. You have permission to just let it go.
You're not fooling anybody. The comb over is not fooling anybody. It's not.
No. But what I will say is that they do make very snazzy, like I don't even think they call them toupees anymore, like hair pieces where you really can't tell. Like I know for years before Steve Harvey shaved his head, like that was a hair piece. It looked like the top of a
Really?
microphone. Yeah. But it was like all of that was like
Oh.
a piece. Yeah.
Well, you know what? Women are doing it now. It's much more common for women to have wigs and extensions.
It's
So why
true.
can't they
It's
do it?
true. I'm wearing my winter wig.
Do you remember this spray that they used to have infomercials about? Where
Yeah.
if men had thinning hair, they could just spray this, like it would match their hair color, and they just spray it
Yeah.
like, shoe polish on
Yeah,
their
it was like hairs, like it was like
head.
yeah, it was like spray paint. And you're like, oh, I'm
Yes.
thinning. Let me just like spray paint and then you won't be able to see. Because I can say that, when you start to thin, especially if the sun hits your head in a certain way, it's like you get that gleam where you're kind of like, oh, yeah,
Yeah.
look at that. Look at that, sir.
Well, what if you get stuck in the rain or you go to the gym and you sweat?
I
Is
assume
it
it runs
going to be
down your
running down your
face.
face?
Yeah. That's
Oh,
my
all right.
assumption. And I don't know that that's a legitimate assumption. I'm making up that assumption, but that's what happens in my mind's eye is that it just runs completely down your face. Yeah.
Oh God. Yeah, just shave
So,
your head, guys. Just stop it. Nobody
yeah, but
cares.
guys have their struggles too. So, I mean, we have to deal with menopause and wrinkles and bags and saggy boobs and clearly now aging vaginas. Thank you. But I guess men have a lot too. Like they deal with the balding, they deal with low testosterone and the issues that may come with low testosterone. I don't know that they deal with like the wrinkles and stuff as much as we do. I don't really ever hear guys complaining about that. But like loss of muscle
I don't
tone, if
either.
you're like you're used to being a muscular guy, maybe it's not as easy to keep that muscle tone if that's part of your identity. I think that they have their struggles too. I just don't think they're as hard as ours or as expensive.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't think so either. And I just think that if you see, a 50-year-old guy and then you see a 50-year-old woman, I don't know. I just feel like unless the 50-year-old woman has had work done, people are just naturally going to say, "Oh, I think the guy just looks better. He's aging better."
Well, I even talk about, because of the differences in aging, and luckily, or unluckily, I don't know, depending on when we had the episode about embracing your singlehood. I'm not saying anything about people who are single, but you and I are not single, so we don't have to worry about that. But I think that women have more worry about if they are single and getting older, that it is going to be harder to find a mate. And men don't have that same concern. Like they know I could be 50 and I could still go out and find a woman. Like I'm not going to have a problem. I don't have that same prime that I've reached where, I'm no longer attractive to the opposite sex, or it's going to be difficult for me to find a mate. And I think that women worry about that too.
Well, look, I think the double standard there is that men are expected to have money. So a young woman is probably not dating a much older guy if he doesn't have a lot of money. Right?
Yeah.
Is he broke? Most likely. You see some hot 25-year-old with a 50-year-old, he's probably got money, right?
Yes, but even if you're looking at people of the same age, like let's say, you know, I mean, we see this all the time, even in our profession. Like, let's say you have a guy who is 50 or 55 and he gets divorced. he doesn't really seem concerned about finding someone else, even another woman in her 50s. Like, he's like, I'm sure there's some, divorcee out there. I'll find someone. I think the woman at 50 or 55 is much more concerned with, am I going to be able to find a man, even a man in his 50s, who's going to, want to be with me? Whereas I don't think men are as worried about that. They're just kind of
Well,
like, it'll be fine.
I've talked to some friends who were in their 50s who were dating, and their challenge was that the men their age, when they would go on these websites like Match or whatever, their search criteria would be someone younger than them. So they wouldn't even be looking for a 50-year-old. And it's like, well, how am I supposed to find somebody if the 50-year-old men want someone who's 30 and 40?
Maybe go for the 70-year-old
man. What am I
man?
supposed to do? Date an 80-year-old because I'm 50?
Yes. Right. The 80-year-old with the saggy butt will be fine dating you at 50. That's
no.
I'm just here to bring solutions. I'm not saying they're good ones.
Something else to consider, though, with the age difference is fertility. So a young woman, she is still fertile. So what? They're fertile till, I don't know, what's the age now? Like 40-ish.
Mm-hmm.
So if a guy is 50 and he still wants to have kids, maybe he's like a George Clooney. He was a confirmed bachelor, but now he is open to having kids. He's going to have to do it with somebody who's much younger.
That is very true. Or, I mean, if we're looking at the flip side of it, if a guy does not want to worry about his mate getting pregnant, then he should date an older woman. Like, date somebody who's not fertile anymore. Then you don't have to worry about pregnancy scares. Could go both ways. But I'm just trying to find silver linings to these things.
Yeah.
Like, maybe that's a good reason to date an older woman, that you say, look, I heard somebody say this, and I think it was like maybe on Facebook or some social media platform, but somebody was saying something about that they very much enjoy. I don't know. I think they might have been using the word dating loosely, like it might have been a euphemism, but they were saying they enjoy dating older women because of, more experience, and the fact that you don't have to deal with pregnancy scares, which you won't have to deal with if you're using protection. So everyone use protection out there. I don't care how old you are, kids, use protection, but you don't have to deal with like pregnancy issues. Their older women are a bit more confident in themselves. A lot of times they may not have the same numbers of self-esteem issues, or they're a little bit more self-assured. They kind of know who they are and what they want. A lot of men find that to be very attractive.
Yes, I think a lot of the rules are softening a lot. I mean, Jennifer Lopez dated somebody significantly younger than her before A-Rod, and Madonna, who's a very extreme example, is 61, I think, and her boyfriend is 25.
Really? I don't follow Madonna anymore, really. Like, I never know what she's doing. But
I love her.
Clearly she's doing something, or someone. She's doing something.
Heather says older men want younger women. I definitely think that's trending. I'm seeing that more. Maybe,
but it's always been
actually, Heather, you said it was something generational. I wasn't quite sure what you meant, but I think she's right. It's generational, that I think the younger men now are not seeing it as so problematic to date someone who's younger than them. I think they just view things differently. But I bet part of that also is that we're aging better. A 40-year-old today looks very different than a 40-year-old did 20, 30 years ago.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Look at old movies. Look at old movies. I don't know what year, like trying to think of some recent old movies that I saw, but when I've been watching Dallas. I'm obsessed with Dallas. And I don't know what year that was. Was it the 80s? I don't think they had Botox and things like that then. It was either you were getting a facelift or nothing,
Yeah.
And so the women on Dallas, the ones that are older, like in their 40s, they look good, but they don't look the way they would look now if they were 40. They would have been pulled tighter, the forehead wouldn't have been moving. So you definitely see that they aged differently then.
I agree. I think that we are aging, and I think that we probably know things that we didn't necessarily know, like putting plastic surgery aside. I think that a lot of people are more conscious about what they eat, about what they drink, about exercise, about all of those things that may not have been so much of a focus before. That I think that people are maybe just taking care of themselves differently as well. Like not as many people smoke. Like smoking ages the crap out of you.
Yes, it does.
So not as many people smoke because we kind of know better now. Like that's
And
not
the
just something
sun,
that we do. Right.
the
Oh my God.
sun.
Think about all of the people. I mean, I never had that challenge of needing more color, but the people who did need more color, that they would like slather themselves up in like baby oil and just go like lay
Yes.
out in the sun and get all of this damage to your skin, but you didn't really think about it.
Yeah, well,
Back then we didn't know.
I had a bunch of I don't know what they're called from a medical perspective, like a bunch of beauty marks
Mhm.
like on my neck and my chest. And I was complaining to Dr. Asadi about them, and he just commented that, you didn't just get those yesterday. You got those from sun exposure that you had 20 years ago, which is
Yeah.
interesting. So young women who are sun worshipers, and they're not thinking about it because they're young. And let's face it,
Right.
when we're young, we just always think we're going to be young and beautiful. You don't start thinking about aging and moisturizer and all that stuff until you start aging, which is really not the
Right.
time to be thinking about it. The time to be thinking about that is really when you're very young and doing things like being mindful of your sun exposure and not smoking and not drinking like a fish and, you know,
That's where I
taking
run
care
into a problem. Yeah.
take care of your skin. So do that now. Encourage all the 20-year-olds. Do it now. Take care of your skin.
Yes. Yes, I agree with you. Maybe that's going to be my resolution for 40 because I really don't take care of my skin that well. I'm not going to lie.
Your skin looks great though. And there's a lot of it is genetic. Dr. Asadi has said that to me many times. A
Thank
lot of
you.
it's
I mean,
genetic.
but I am one of those people that like I sleep in my makeup. Like I do all the crap you're not supposed to do. I'm going to
I
work on
do
that.
that
That'll be
sometimes.
that'll be my resolution for my 40s. It's like do the responsible thing. Take your makeup off. Baby steps. Just baby steps.
Yes, I use the Neutrogena wipes.
I do too. And even with that, I still like there are times I like crawl up to bed and I'm like, I ain't doing it. Like I look at the wipe, not doing it. So
Really? It's so
I'm
easy.
I well, maybe you don't understand the true depth of my laziness, Christina. Like there are really times that even I think about that and I go like, it's really not hard. Like you're just gonna take the wipe and just wipe. And even with that, I give myself these excuses as to why I don't want to do, especially if I've like fallen asleep and I'm just like crawling up to go to bed. I go, well, you're gonna wake yourself up with the wipe, like all the moisture, and you're just gonna be awake. That's not true. It's just laziness.
Yeah, well, I've gotten to the point where I can't stand to go to bed with makeup on. It bothers me.
Well, I'd like to get to that point. I
Yeah.
would. Maybe
Oh,
as soon as I get off of this live, I'm gonna take my makeup off. That's what I'm
goals.
gonna do. Goals.
Goals.
Yes.
So, just to kind of recap, ladies, you're doing great. If you don't want to do Botox and all that stuff, then don't do whatever the hell you want, right? That's in
Yep.
2020, that's what we can do. We can do whatever the hell we want. But if you do want to do Botox, I know a guy. I put his web address in the comments. And I would love to. Maybe Heather, we could have you come on and you could talk about anything that you've done if you feel like sharing. And I just want to say
Oh,
once again, happy 40th birthday, Robyn. I hope you
thank
have
you.
a wonderful day. And it's really a special birthday. And 40 is so not old. It's fabulous. My 40s have been great. I'm 45 and still got 5 more years. So I know that you're going to have a great decade.
I'm here for it. I'm just getting started.
All right, but you are going to take your makeup tonight.
I am going to take off my makeup tonight.
All right. Well, thank you guys for watching the Shit Talking podcast. We are going to be posting these. It's my fault. I've been a little lazy. posting these wherever you listen to podcasts, so you can listen to the podcast version, or you can come right back here on Facebook and you can watch the replays. And we will be here every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. However, I am going to Vegas on Sunday.
Woo!
And we will record an episode to air next Wednesday, but that one will not be live. But I hope that you'll still tune in and watch it anyway. And if you have an idea for a topic you want to hear about, send us an email or put it in the comments. And thank you for watching.
Love you. Have a great week.